Mandy, if you want to give a welcome, everyone can hear you. We're just going to get video on in a moment.
That sounds great. I will go ahead and start and give everyone a big wave when I see you soon. My name is Amanda Smith. I am the Director of Counseling for Jesuit High School. I want to start with a big, huge welcome to the class of 2024. We are really excited to welcome you and especially welcome you to campus in the next couple of months. It's been kind of a wild ride, and we are all so happy to be able to welcome you to our beautiful school and the community. I know many of you have joined us for welcome days or shadows, or even athletics, PAL, anything. So we are really excited to have you here. Mrs. Sands, would it be okay if I just kind of keep going so I have plenty of time for questions at the end?
Ask attendees while we're working. Anyone that's out there, you want to type in a hello into the question and answer box. Let's just make sure our newest Marauders can hear us while we work through. Oh, yep, we got it. We got a hello. So that's good to go, Mrs. Smith. Why don't you continue on? Hey, we got lots of hellos. Look at that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you and hello back. If you hadn't yet heard about Jesuit Counseling, I'm happy to share with you. The way Jesuit Counseling works is very different than some of the other schools. We are really integrated into your curriculum. Our counseling department is firmly rooted in the spirit of Cura Personalis, and you've probably heard that in other ways or seen it on campus some way, meaning our care is for the whole person, and that's reflected in the way we deliver counseling services to students. So not only are we school counselors, but we are also your academic guide. We are there to support you through a difficult situation. We're there to help you with all of your college preparedness, and that actually begins freshman year. And we deliver it in a way that while we are working with our students, we are not just college counselors, we are not just academic counselors, and we're not just personal counselors. We're there to deliver what we call a comprehensive model. So when you meet with your counselor freshman year, our goal is to have you work with that counselor for the 4 years that you are there, and really building those relationships, because that is important for not only for our communication and to make sure that we're giving you the most well-rounded curriculum and college preparedness as we can, but that allows us to build that strength in the relationship so that by the time you're a senior and applying into college, I can sit there and write you the most glowing letter and I really truly know you. I'm not just writing off of a piece of paper or what I think the schools want to know about you. I get to tell them more about who you are as a person. And it's really fun getting to know you guys over the next 4 years and your families. Part of what we do is that when you start freshman year, you're welcomed into the counseling center. We're going to meet you on orientation, and we will go through all the myriad of things that we're doing throughout the 4 years, but really giving you an insight into how each of those years are going to factor into how we get you ready to move into your next phase. And every student has their own path, and so we are able to allow for an individualized curriculum for our students. This year, we are welcoming Mr. Ian Farr back into our counseling department, which is wonderful because that means that we are adding an additional resource to counseling, which increases our supports for our students. And so we have multiple avenues that we will use for that through collaboration, which those periods will be in the mornings and they're held by counselors typically. There might be other collaboration periods, but we will do some larger group work. We will do some small group work, and then we will have individualized meetings as well. Freshman year curriculum really starts with explaining how grades matter, but not just grades matter, that freshman year matters. And a lot of what we build freshman year is that support network of making sure you're in the right fit for classes, that we are supporting the students to meet the curriculum expectations, but also challenging themselves where appropriate. We're helping them pick classes so that they are prepared for their next level, or if they have a goal that we're trying to achieve by junior or senior year, we're working towards that goal, and even further beyond for colleges. Some students may come in knowing exactly what they want to do when they're a senior and what schools they'll be applying to, and many are still figuring that out, and mostly they're figuring out. So that will be part of our process with our students, is to help them navigate that college prep process. And for the preparation, we work within Naviance. We use a college planning classroom that is specifically set up for our individual students. And we use it as a Google Classroom, just like your other classes will use it for their curriculum. Part of what we do is getting to know your resources. We have a complete open door policy. Students are able to request a meeting with us at any point. They can, we've been very creative in the last few months. And so we've even began incorporating Zoom sessions for students who weren't able to meet us in person. The other things that we're doing is that we do go through, we have both your personal counselor or your school counselor, I should say, and then we also have a wellness counselor. And our wellness counselor is there to support our students with any other additional things that they may need that maybe need to be addressed. Or if they're having, hold on one moment. I think I get video. There it is. Hi. So our wellness counselors are, our wellness counselor is there part-time. She is Miss Casey Cardinale, and you can see all of our profiles on the Jesuit website. She is there to support our students who may be having a more difficult time with the emotional or social situation. She also runs small groups, which is really nice to have. Based on skill set, sometimes we have some processing groups, but we do quite a bit to support our students in a well-rounded way. Let me think, what else here? Back to our open door policy. When we meet with our students, they can drop in at any point. They can schedule those appointments. We do a lot through the collaboration, but also families are going to want to reach out. We encourage that. We encourage discussions with our students. That communication flow goes both ways. And so we do try to work with our families. We try to group siblings together as much as possible because we are about building those relationships and supporting our students throughout the 4 years. I think that covers the bulk of it, Mrs. Sands, unless there's some general questions I want to start with. I want to leave plenty of time for that. Something to note, though, is that while we aren't sure exactly how we're going to be delivering all of our counseling services, we are going to have those continued contacts. So we will be meeting individually. We will be meeting with students in collaboration periods. They will be smaller. And then we will continue to offer Zoom sessions for our students if, or chance, they are not on campus and they are going to be doing some additional work outside. So, Mr. Ramos, is that you there?
Hey, are you here, Mr. Ramos? Maybe? No? Yes? Well, I can share. Earlier this week, we had a few questions from our parents, and maybe some of them are on, and even some of our students asking, how do they know who their counselor is? And when do they find that out?
Wonderful. Our counselors are, they are set up. We each work with students. And so we work with what our caseload is called, is more on an alphabetical caseload. So typically I work with students in the A's and B's. Another counselor will work with students somewhere through the B through C's and D's. We are going to be getting that information out. Currently, we are waiting on getting the last remaining students in our system. Typically, that information is released in August because counselors are not on campus during the summer, or we're not working during the summer. And so we are focused on getting everyone addressed and their attention back in August when we return. So I believe that gets sent out in an orientation schedule in early August. On our website, you can probably figure out about where you might fit if you're looking at your last name, and it will be based on the student's last name.
that, share with us who the counselors are. Mandy, can you hear me?
Oh, say that again.
Who are our counselors? We had a question asked, say, how many counselors are there and who are they?
Wonderful. We have this year, as I mentioned, we have Mr. Farr coming back into the counseling department. So we will have 6 full-time counselors and 1 wellness counselor. And we are fortunate to have Ms. Wasma Kakar, who is our administrative assistant, who supports us throughout the school year and over the summer. Many of you might have interacted with her already. And the 6 counselors are listed on the website. You can view each profile if you'd like, but Ms. Casey Cardinale is our wellness counselor, and Mr. Farr will be joining us, and he will be one of our counselors. There's Ms. Kathy Van Liepta, Ms. Jennifer Rasmussen, Mr. Chris Seibert, and Ms. Angela Harger, and myself, Amanda Smith. And I think that would be all of us. All of our counselors are, your school counselor is going to be PPS credentialed. And so meaning that we actually have a counseling credential with the state of California. In addition to that, we are continuing and doing ongoing professional growth. We're members of the ASCA and NACAC and WACAC organizations so that we keep up on the current trends in school counseling for across the nation. We also are part of the Jesuit High School Counselors College network as well. And so that is another layer that we add and bring information into our students and for our families. Hopefully that answers your question.
I know these are our wonderful freshman families, but I was a parent too, just sharing with our participants. My son is going to be a junior, so I remember what it was like a few years ago. Last night, and now again, as I'm reading questions, we already have parents and students wondering, how do they make sure they're taking the right classes to track for their college requirements?
Wonderful. So one of the beautiful things about the Jesuit curriculum is that it's built into your graduation requirements is college prep curriculum. So our work with the students is really to figure out what it is that you are tracking towards. We don't offer tracks. That's not something that we specifically do. Every student has the opportunity to progress levels and make choices as we move throughout the years. So if you started in a regular course, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to be eligible for an advanced level course the following year. And we will work with our students to guide them into that and help support them along the way. And especially if a student has, if they're needing a little more academic support, they're not meeting the minimum requirements, we work with them even more closely throughout that time to ensure that they are getting up to the expectations so that they're earning the college recommending grades that they will need to achieve the academic competitiveness that they will need for the colleges that they're applying to.
Another question is regarding Excel classes. So there's 2 questions. The first is, and you kind of addressed it, but maybe you could be a little more specific. If I chose as a freshman not to take the Excel class, how do I determine if next year as a sophomore, I can then move up to the Excel? So maybe, Mrs. Smith, we could use English Excel as an example. If I chose to just take regular English this year, how do I get next year to the Excel level of that subject?
Wonderful. The first couple of things I would ask my student if I'm working with him is, was he eligible for that class and he wanted to wait to see what it was like first, and kind of navigate what the hesitation or the choice behind choosing not to take the class. Because sometimes that's just as important as the capability. The other that we would do is look at where he would be progressing in that class. Students who are looking to move into the Excel program, they do need to meet a minimum requirement, and it's varied for each class. For English Excel, I don't believe I know off the top of my head, but it is in our course curriculum online, our course catalog. They need to have at least a 90 to 95% in their class, in their current class, to move to be eligible to move into the next level. Then in addition to that, I would be looking at how many Excel classes that they're taking, or if they're introducing an AP class, or if they are adding, they're continuing in their visual performing arts. So depending on how much space they have within their day, or how packed their academic or their athletic or extracurricular goals are. So we want to make sure that they are fully equipped to be able to understand the requirements of the class and do well. So a student who is earning top grades at in his class and feels very comfortable with the material, then we would absolutely encourage them to continue on and apply for the Excel class.
Great. You touched on it a bit in the same way. I have a question from a parent, and they say, my son, as a freshman, has gotten into 4 Excel classes, but they'd also like to be involved in sports. So that's the extracurricular you were talking about. Does this seem too ambitious of a schedule for a freshman?
It depends.
I remember.
It's going to depend on what he's been doing before this, what kind of routines he has as an independent learner. Is he very diligent? It sounds like if he's eligible for 4 Excel classes, that academically it's probably a good fit, but we do want to look at the well-roundedness and how much time that sport is taking for him as well. And then what are the things he likes to do at home? Because even though they're involved in extracurriculars, maybe he enjoys video gaming or hanging out and playing basketball with his friends when they're able to. He likes to have a little bit of downtime to watch Netflix or, make TikTok videos, whatever it may be. We want to look at that well-roundedness. And what we can do is looking at that. Mr. Zelke is available to answer and address any of those questions over the summer. 4 is definitely doable, but again, it's going to matter. It's going to be based on your individual son and your students, what is important to him. So if he wants to be in those classes, then it is definitely worth a shot. We've had many students be very successful when they are, when they have that intrinsic value and really motivated to work for it.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, because 30 minutes goes by very fast, would you touch on a little bit about the Cura Personalis and how the counseling department, right now we're talking academics, we're talking, let me just read a quick question. I'm just wondering what else, explain that wellness component. What else are my counselors there to assist me with as an incoming freshman?
So often freshman year, we have students coming from 70 different schools. They come from all over. Some travel a far ways. Some live right down the street. It is definitely a year of adjustment, and our goal is to help you and your sons transition in a way that is good for them. And some days are not great. And what we will do is they're welcome to drop in at any point. We've helped students navigate just a bad day, or they were out of uniform and it just got to them and they needed somebody to talk through it with. Or they had a situation come up in a class and they didn't know how to address it with their teacher. We'll work with them on that. I've sat and helped students write emails to their teachers, or work through finding how to self-advocate. There are also times when they're having a pretty bad day and they don't really know what it is. So our wellness component of that as well is we do have a self-referral kiosk, and that information goes directly to our wellness counselor. She will support those students. We have some who've referred a friend who may be just having a hard time, or they lost someone very close to them and they don't know what they're feeling right at that moment. Their counselor actually helps them with all of that. And then our wellness counselor is an additional layer of support. So we truly mean, when we're talking about being a comprehensive counselor, my students will come to me. Ms. Van Leef's students will go directly to her. All of those counselors will meet with our students because we tend to know them well and then we work through any things that they may need. Like I said, it could be as simple as they were out of uniform and they got a jug and so, you know, they're having a bad day. Or it could be much bigger than that, and we're there to support them through all of it.
And that's a wonderful part of our school. I know for our parents, and this is the last question we'll take, it's been typed in. A lot of our parents are coming in trying to make the decisions on those classes. Before I hand it off to you though, I want to let our parents know Matthew Ramos and our admissions team also has worked all along with an academic support team. Even though you might have not met face-to-face, our counseling team, right, Amanda, our academic team, you hear the name Mr. Zelke, that's David Zelke. They've gotten to know your freshmen through their testing, through the letters from teachers, through their teacher recommendation in 8th grade. That's where you're being recommended. So the question now, Amanda, is this parent is, you know, feeling confused. Are we making the right step in choosing these classes without talking to you now in June and July? Is waiting to August too late? So maybe you can reassure them a little bit, but also give them a point of contact that just send off, and I'll say this, just send off the email. I know Mrs. Smith is saying they're off for the summer, but the counseling, WASMA and the counseling department gets it directed to the right person if that question comes in. Is that true?
Absolutely. We have a really great system for the summer, but I want to assure you, as Ms. Sands is just saying, all of the placements for students and the classes that they've chosen, that is all handled typically with a team that she mentioned, Mr. Ramos, Mr. Zelke, Mr. Farr, Mr. O'Connor, who is our incoming AP for academics, and Mrs. Rose and the counselors. We've all kind of gathered our admissions teams. They've placed our students, and this is our tradition, the best way to put it, for years on end here. And they're usually pretty spot on. We do sometimes have to make a couple of tweaks. If there is a major concern, however, a family is not sure if their son is ready for that, please feel free to email Ms. Kakar. She will direct it to the appropriate person to make sure that you get a response in a timely manner. Like I said, even though the counselors are not there during the summer, we do have people on campus who can answer it, or if it needs to get filtered to one of us, we're happy to address that. But honestly, the students who are placed in those classes, this is our usual way of addressing when they come onto campus. Even our welcome night that we have revamped into this series, a lot of the times it really was just a question of making sure that they had all the classes that they had already signed up for. And trust your gut on it. The parents know their son and what they're capable of. And if you feel that you need a little extra support in that, please do feel free to email Ms. Kakar, and her information's on the website as well. She will direct it to all the correct parties.
Great. There's a couple more questions, so I'm just going to say type a few responses here, but it is 6:30. So if 6:31, and I'm getting a message that we just have about 4 minutes before our next session starts, letting our participants know that is with Mr. Tim Kelly, who handles all of our student activities, and you'll learn this term, the exec. That's our leaders, our student leaders on the campus, our student executive council. And I think you might meet a few of them in the next session too, Amanda, so they'll learn some new faces. So Wonderful. If you offline, I'll let you do that. And I'm just gonna write in these last few questions, Mandy, just reiterating about being credentialed. So I've let them know a yes, and they can visit the website to learn what those different acronyms you threw at us regarding credentialing more. And let's see, kids are perhaps say how are schools, given the last few months and kids starting high school from unusual circumstances, socially this has been tough for kids. How are schools like Jesuit preparing? You've mentioned our well person care that our team does. Mm-hmm. Do you have any little hints you might share on how we're going to help that social connection for our students, since we're talking through a computer for the last 3 months? And then with that, sign off, but go ahead.
Okay. Socially, it has been a very interesting thing to navigate. I can definitely say that the counseling team swiveled to creative solutions to navigating a lot of that. We offered office hours, we scheduled Zooms with students, and they even learned how to pick up a phone and have a conversation with their counselor the last couple of months, which has been really fun to get to hear their voices and to talk to them, but to navigate also those social pieces. And so what our hope is, depending on how we will return, the options that we give for them is to incorporate that. They're going to be so happy to see each other. But those kids that might have a little trouble fitting in or navigating how to address that, we are going to be offering some small groups, and that will be part of their orientation process. They can indicate that they're interested in that, or parents can reach out and let us know that they think their son needs a little extra support in that area. There are going to be quite a few opportunities with our freshman welcome team. They will find creative and clever solutions on how to get the students together. Our retreats for our freshmen, the club days, and all of those types of things that they're going to have. There is a big focus on making sure the students have a way to integrate socially, and kind of relearn those skills a bit. But we're getting to be with them face to face and in person is going to help tremendously. And seeing their face and being able to talk with them, we have amazing teachers, and they refer as they need to. They sit and they talk and they listen, and it's a great way for us to do that. And parents have plenty of options to hear what we do as a community. Counseling sends out a newsletter approximately every 6 weeks. The school sends an update, so you'll be able to see all the additional enrichments that we're offering as well.
Well, thank you so much, and to all of our participants, our parents, and hey, our newest Marauders, as you listen in, just visit the website. You can literally hit the search engine, type in counseling, and the first result that comes up is our counseling directory. So it points you in the right direction to send an